Welcome everyone to In the Green Room. I'm Kinga.
And I'm Chet. I hope everybody's having a great day. Most of the country is freezing cold right now.
I've actually had a great
But
week. I don't know about, welcome Doc.
Here in Arizona, we're spoiled with some 70-degree weather.
Wow.
Yeah.
So welcome Betty Bool to In the Green Room. We are so happy to have you here.
Thank you very much.
So we usually like to kind of chat about our week and our day. Did you have a good day today, Betty?
Very good. I was almost doing the same thing beginning at 8 o'clock this morning, but that was for the CASA. Maybe I told you about that.
Yes, she had an interview this morning, ironically, for your church.
Well, it was on the website, and it was live.
Virtual. It was a virtual.
Yeah, and it had been taped. It had been taped several weeks ago, so I was not really up for it. I was just relaxed.
And at this moment, you're 91 and a half years old, correct?
That's right.
In your 65th
Wow.
year of marriage.
Correct.
66 years in May, correct?
Right.
So that is so long and happy.
Well, and not only that, but a lot
We
of
need you right up
people-
on the mic, or we're not gonna be able to hear you.
Most people are married before they're 25 years old, or at least that long ago. People married when they're in their teens, so they had a head start on me because I was 25 when I was married. So that's a long time ago.
So how did you meet Herb, your husband?
I met Herb in Chicago. He was in graduate school at Northwestern. He had just graduated from college, and he was in hospital administration. He had a year to spend in graduate school before he went in the Air Force in pilot training.
Pilot training in the Air Force, okay.
And he was going to be in Florida, and he knew that ahead of time because they took the whole class from his school as members of this pilot training group. So it was really fun for them because they all knew each other so well. And that was in Florida, and then of course we went to the big state of Texas, where the second half of the pilot training took place. And then lo and behold, he was stationed in El Paso at Biggs Air Force.
But I want to hear about how you first met him.
Oh, okay.
I want to hear about the exciting, first time and how he asked you out and how he proposed, all that exciting stuff.
Well, he lived very near where I lived on the near north side of Chicago, and we met at Holy Name Cathedral. We were going there to Mass during the week, and there weren't very many people at all in the church, probably maybe as few as 20 or 10. And so at first we weren't sitting very close together, and day by day I kept sitting in the same place, and Herb kept moving up. So
He kept moving
eventually-
closer to her.
So that's amazing that every weekday morning, both of you were attending Mass at your local Catholic church in Chicago.
Correct.
So that's
Yeah.
remarkable.
Well, we both had that kind of training earlier in school. Actually, Herb was here at St. Mary's High School with
Right.
the Franciscans.
So he sat closer and closer, and then how did he finally ask you out?
As I was walking out to rush off to work, the arm came around and the door came open, and he said, "Would you like to get a cup of coffee?" And I said, thinking, "Oh, am I going to be late for work?" I said, "I'd love to."
It's phenomenal.
Yeah, very hesitant.
And he didn't take you to Starbucks. Where was the coffee shop?
Oh, he took me across the street to Walgreens.
Which is amazing because Walgreens, we don't think of that as serving coffee.
But in those days, they all had counters, is what they called them, for seats. And this was at a very busy intersection of Chicago and State. And so it was a very progressive Walgreens. And we ate there every morning for about 30 days, I think.
So he asked you for the coffee, and then you went every day. He kept asking you out every day.
Oh, no. In fact, we didn't go out for a while. And then we went to a hockey game, and then he took me to a play downtown, and I thought, I had better get this straightened out before it gets any closer.
This part's funny. This part's funny.
So I said, well, Herb, I something to tell you. And he said, oh, he thought, oh, I better say my husband's coming home, not those days. and so I said, I know from when you graduated and when I graduated that I am 3 years older than you.
3 years older.
And he looked at me and he said, what difference does that make? And then I felt rather foolish because he just asked me out. He didn't ask me to spend 66 years with him. At any rate, that was the beginning, and we were married. That was around Thanksgiving, and we were married at the end of May. And that's very quick, and it was very quick for someone as old as we were.
So how many months was that?
6 months.
6 months, and then he
Yeah.
proposed. How did he propose? We have Valentine's on Sunday, and our show is featuring your love story because I think it's such a beautiful love story. Since we just had our Valentine's.
Actually, our love story or proposal is different depending on who you ask. And he said that I asked him, and I say no. He said, well, if we were to get married, where would we get married? You know, where doesn't really make that much difference if you decide to get married.
So he said, where if we got married, where would you get married? It was how he asked you.
I said, in my little small town of Odell, Illinois, which was 80 miles south of Chicago. And he said, oh, and then he didn't say much more about it, but he eventually got around to it.
So this is a power couple literally in the making, because Herb, a Cornell grad who turned down a full football scholarship at Stanford and would go on to spend 40 years with the Martin E. Siegel Company, and then
Right.
spend at least 10 years on the board of the Screen Actors,
Screen Actors Guild.
for Hollywood.
Yeah, and not
For the
only
movies.
be on the board, but
He was the point man.
he was appointment. He ran all of their operations, so to speak, everything that they did for their
He was the big cheese.
members. Yeah.
And while he was doing all of that, you were a force of nature also in that relationship with the children and many of
Right.
your land deals as well. Hear about.
And we actually lived in Phoenix all that time, and he would go to the coast. All of that sort of thing takes place in Burbank.
So he would fly weekly to Hollywood to deal with the Screen Actors Guild, and sometimes you would go, or would he go alone every time?
Sometimes, but
You go sometimes.
yeah, he would stay in Glendale, California. And so after I did everything there was to do in Glendale during the day, you know, waiting for it to finish, I didn't actually go that often. But
So something that I find really remarkable is in your happy love story, your beautiful marriage of 65 years, you tell me that he always let you be the boss.
yeah, he was very willing to be that way. And I think one reason was he was an only child and his father was sick. That's why they moved here, so he could get well in the sun. He had TB. And his mother was the driving force to make what living they could eke out in the cactus business.
Oh, the
So-
cactus business?
That's remarkable, because where was his cactus farm?
It was at 2735
Across from Hillstone.
East Camelback.
Across from Hillstone.
Oh, the
It-
Hillstone.
Where the restaurant is now.
No, across the street where that apartment building is, the Angela.
It's actually across from the shopping center there.
Yes.
26th Street goes into the shopping center, and the Angela is right next door to the big apartments on the
So 2.5 acre cactus farm.
right.
Amazing.
And they were part of a group of about 10 people that started the botanical garden, which had been started before the war, but didn't have a very good start yet, and it could have gone under if people weren't very generous with donating land and In fact, the botanical garden owned all the property that is now the zoo. They shared their good fortune with the zoo. And that was in the 30s when that happened.
Right.
So Chet, isn't this an amazing love story? 65
Yes.
Yeah.
years. And Chet, what do you think about letting your girlfriend be the boss all the time?
I don't think it's good for any one person to be the boss, but there's different dynamics that can work for different people, obviously. Like, there's some relationships where both people are totally equal, and there's some where one person's a little more dominant in the decision making. So, Christina and I are both really independent people, so I don't think either one of us is going to let the other person boss the other person around. That's just how we are. So,
I would agree. You're both very strong.
yeah, but I don't know. There's a lot of different dynamics within relationships, so anything can work for different people. So,
I agree with that.
Yeah,
So
well-
it worked for you.
Well, actually, Herb traveled always. And so he was out of town, and so when I was there all the time with 4 children, and also I got interested in real estate, and so it was just a natural for me to get into that sort of business, and it wasn't that I was trying to convince him.
Well,
things
Chet-
were obviously very harmonious if it's 65 years strong. So, what are
Right.
some of your secrets that made it work so well?
Well, I think it was really mostly her, because he's a very congenial person, and right now he's at Huger because he's had Alzheimer's for many years, and it was kind of a
Sorry to hear
pleasure
that.
to know that he's there, and the girls that take care of him, they said, I said, well, Herb doesn't give you any trouble, does he? He said, absolutely not. It's so easy to get along with. And actually.
How long has he been at the center? Is it 2 years now?
It will be 3 years.
3 years,
in
okay.
July.
So you took care of him until you couldn't anymore.
Right, he does use a walker now, but,
How often do you go see him?
when you see, I couldn't go see him for 7 months.
Oh, because of
Oh, no,
COVID.
that's terrible.
But now I can go once a week for 30 minutes, but there's a moving glass in front of us.
I think that's ridiculous because, I think having physical connection and all that is really important. And quality of your life is more important than quantity. Like, we can't just all bubble wrap each other away for the rest of our lives.
Well, you see, they did have COVID in the group.
Oh, okay. So they were being extra cautious.
Yeah, they went to complete lockdown. No one could get in or out, and they were able to get rid of half of the 48 patients had COVID, and they got rid of it in 2 months and haven't had it back since. So, but people can't live in such controlled atmosphere as they do at Huger. It's 5 acres, and there's a wrought iron wall around it, so that they know who's there and who isn't, and they can also be outside whenever they want to be. So that's a nice thing about that area, because you're not necessarily up on the 6th floor and not able to go outside.
So Betty, sorry to interrupt. Back to you being the boss. Chet, something that you didn't know that I think is pretty remarkable is Herb gave her the authority to do the investing, and so he made a chunk of money here and there with that company and with the Screen Actors Guild, which in this day and time it's a lot. I don't want to say the numbers, but and then he would give you the money, and she would pick where they were going to invest, and she invested really well because she's really smart. So she would buy farms. Can you tell us a little bit about that, about buying farms and how you do the trades and all that?
Well, we owned a cotton farm out on the west side. It was north, the north boundary was Cactus, and it's the same quadrant that Dysart High School is in. So it's, let's see, it was 250 acres, I believe. at any rate, eventually that land was developed into homes. So that's what gave us the opportunity to exchange, small bits of that property at a time. And so we, instead of selling it outright, which would have been possible, for cash, we merely exchanged it so that we didn't have to pay tax at that time. You only pay it when you're finished exchanging. You don't have any more time to.
So Chet, your grandpa, Chet Johns, did the same thing.
Yeah,
And-
1031 exchanges are very common because of the tax benefits.
Yes.
So yeah,
And so Betty was also friends with your grandpa.
there seems to be
yeah.
similar
Yeah, she was friends with Chet and
assets,
Kay.
whether it's land or trading land for land or cars for cars. If it's similar assets, you can do 1031.
I don't know about cars.
Yeah, you can do 1031 cars too, or it might be a different form technically, but it's the same principle. You
Yeah.
can get out of taxes versus if you just sell a car versus trading it, you're gonna pay more taxes if
Oh,
you
you
sell
mean,
it.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
The government's not involved, but
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
what people do all the time.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
exactly. So it's really effective for saving money and, making your whole operation more efficient. So.
Yeah, so we did, I guess, we first had that cotton,
Where was the cotton burn?
well, the north boundary was Cactus, and on either side was El Mirage and Dices.
Oh, okay.
So it's very close to where Sun City West is.
Oh, okay.
And it's solid homes, handsome built homes, and they're very nice homes.
So something else really important that I want to mention is you have some land in Idaho and you are allowing some sustainability to be taking place. Can you tell us what's happening with your land?
Yes, although that's a potato farm, and it is, it's not all farmable because you can only farm what you have water for. And so one part, is used for grazing, which isn't very productive. But on that part, we have a cell tower, and they are just starting to build a big wind turbine. They're gonna put 2 wind turbines. In fact, it was interesting, they said that in the cold that's now in Texas, that one of the reasons that they can't get the natural gas in to be used in producing electricity is because the turbines are frozen.
Whoops.
I don't know, but I guess maybe down below, but they, of course, have to send electricity out from those objects. And it just doesn't work when it's way below zero, I guess.
Chet, do you know anything about turbines? And the
Well,
wind
yeah,
is?
there's a lot of power outages all over Texas, and then I think the whole Midwest, basically, because there's such severe cold temperatures. That's what I was trying to start the show out with. That's why I dressed in these beachy clothes, because it's still 70 and nice here, and then in Florida it was like 88, and then the rest of the country it was like around 20 to 30 degrees, miserable
Well,
temperatures. So
I like
figured
it.
here in Arizona we'll enjoy it.
Doc,
Don't
what did
move
you
here
think
though.
about
We
that?
don't want you to move here. There's enough traffic already, so stay where it's cold.
Yeah, call Bernie Sanders, the turbines are frozen. I'm sure he has a plan. Our whole country would. But your husband is remarkable, and we should tell his story. And it's so impressive. He's from Ithaca, New York, which is of course the home of Cornell University.
Actually, his father was from Ithaca.
Father's from Ithaca.
Although Herb was born in Dayton, but they moved here when he was only 1 year old.
Right.
And Phoenix was so small. In fact, when he graduated from high school at St. Mary's in 1950, Phoenix was 50,000 people.
Amazing.
Wow, 50,000 people?
50,000 came in. It sounds like I'm
Wow.
exaggerating, but that was the truth.
It's
Wow.
over 100 times that now. It's over
Wow.
5 million. So that's
Yeah.
crazy to think about. Yeah.
So it's amazing that he had Ivy League schools competing for his attendance. He got offered the full scholarship to Stanford on a football scholarship, and then Cornell outbid them, correct?
Well, I'll tell you, what really happened was that Herb was going to Stanford on a football scholarship, and he was going to Cornell on a merit scholarship, which is
Okay.
academic.
Okay.
And so he started thinking about the little school of St. Mary's, and Stanford has big power teams, and that he probably would be cut before the football season even began. And his parents were not well-to-do, and so he instead chose to take.
Oh, so
care
his
of-
parents were not well-to-do, so all his
No.
success was all on his own.
Right.
Wow.
His dad was, he was sick at age 30. And so, anyway, it was good that he chose to go back east, I think, because it gave him a different perspective. But sometimes he would say, if I knew I was going to live in Phoenix all my life, I should have gone to Stanford, because Stanford's more popular in this part of the country.
Well, I think he
Right.
did pretty well.
Yeah.
I think he did pretty well.
And then he walked onto the football team there,
Right,
was quarterback his junior and senior year.
that's right.
Amazing.
Such a stud.
Impressive.
And was on the swim team as well, and swam with an interesting person.
But actually, the team, the sport that he really enjoyed more than any was lacrosse. And at that time, 1954, people say, "What is lacrosse?" and it's
A new sport.
it's a French Indian game, and that was closer to the east. And actually, the area of Baltimore where they have a Hall of Fame lacrosse museum is that's the hotbed of lacrosse even now. Like on the front page of the paper today, it was lacrosse. I think they were from Washington D.C. one of the schools there playing Virginia. And I mean that's very popular sport now.
But how his life intersected with Peter Eisenman is interesting.
Right. Peter Eisenman is the architect that did the Cardinal Stadium. And when he did the stadium, he had never been to Phoenix. Because, Phoenix became popular pretty quickly. And so the Bidwells said, well, you'll have to come out to Phoenix and take a look. This was after he was hired. And they said, do you know anyone in Phoenix? And he said, yeah, I swam at school with a fellow whose name is Herb Bool. And I think he's still there. And Bidwell says, you're right, because we know who he is. That we go to the same church, so.
That's super cool. And the stadium is an architectural genius in point of fact. Is it not? There's many features of that stadium that are truly remarkable.
Yeah, I think particularly the way it looks,
Mhm.
with the bright silver look and all that. Although I guess there had been quite a few round type stadiums, probably in that, but this seemed to be, it was one of the newer ones, and of course, it's the roof opening too, makes them all different.
Right. So the interesting history that we learned from the coach was that, early in the day when the Cardinals played in the old stadium, attendance was terrible because they had to play in the middle of the day. It was screeching hot. Nobody wanted to go. And so
Right.
going to the Cardinal Stadium with retractable roof was huge because you could close the roof and then play in that air-conditioned environment.
Yeah, they keep it nice and chilly in there during the games. I've been like, I need to wear a sweatshirt or something.
It's pretty
Yeah.
cold, actually. I would agree with that.
So that solved that major problem, which the Cardinals were on.
Yeah, and I think also their grass rolls out into the sun. So it isn't it's not artificial.
Right, it's real grass. But
As
then
far
it's,
as I know.
then it's retractable, which is
Yeah.
an architectural feat of genius, which is.
Well, yeah, it's a lot more efficient because some of the other stadiums that don't have that feature, they have to bring in sod and then they'll
Oh.
throw that away. or something like that. And so it's a lot less sustainable versus the Cardinal Stadium. They just keep rolling it back and forth.
Yeah,
So it's a lot more sustainable. So
that's great.
Well, we really appreciate all the sustainability that you're involved with, and I think your faith we also have to speak about, because you go to church every day. Did you and Herb go every single Sunday, or once you were married, did you stop going to church together?
No, that's a modern kind of habit that people have gone into. But
So how often, once you got married, did you go to church? Because I know when you met each other, you both were going every day.
well, and Herb would go sometimes early in the day, and I would go with the kids because they were all in Catholic schools. So it wasn't exactly every day, but we tried for that.
You went often.
Yeah.
I love it. And so we just had Valentine's Day. Was Herb very romantic and very thoughtful on all the Valentine's days? And did he, take you out and date you still while you were,
Well, I
you say
have-
you guys are so happy. So
Well, I remember the first Valentine's Day, we had walks up with the narrow side has a lot of
there's a sound.
shops, and they
Doesn't hear anything.
There's all of a sudden it's really weird. So you guys can keep talking.
No, I'm fine.
Oh, at any rate,
You can keep talking.
Herb gave me this darling necklace for Valentine's Day, and I thought, gee, he is really thoughtful. It was the last Valentine's gift I got in 66 years.
Wow.
So, a good start, but.
But as you were, decades were going by, were you still dating? Did you go out to dinner, just the two of you? Was it a big family thing? Tell us about those happy memories.
Well, you see, that was only 6 months, so it was just like most people dating. I mean, we didn't necessarily go out every night either, but then we realized that this is going to be serious, and Herb is going in the Air Force, that we'd probably never see each other again if he left under those circumstances. Because, I mean, he was going to be in Florida, and he couldn't get off the country. So, anyway, we just forgot about it and got married. And so that was the best thing we could have done, because then we didn't have to worry about going back and forth to see each other, and also we moved quite often when you're pilot training, and there isn't that much time off. So it worked out. We were in the Air Force for 4 years.
But then too, during your years in Phoenix as a family, I think King is asking too, how romantic was her and
Oh,
your relationship on a year-to-year basis?
Thank you. Yes.
oh, well, quite, although, Herb is really a quiet person, so he isn't one that would show his emotions too much at either end of the spectrum. I mean, he was always calm, and he'd never get upset and that sort of thing.
So he didn't have a temper? No temper?
I would say he did not have a temper.
In those 40 years, he was with the Martin Siegel Company, which is a major company
In New York.
from New York, handling employee benefits for large corporations and organizations. And there must have been a Phoenix office here that he was based at.
Yes, and there still is.
Okay.
The office probably had in the realm of 30 people. Now they have, I think, close to 60. And they're in a building over, I don't think the address is Tempe. It's a Phoenix address, but it's right across the canal, the lake there.
And those are massive transactions. That's fairly prestigious. And he got that job right out of graduate school. Is that correct?
No, not really. He worked for Lincoln Financial for 3 years as their group man in Houston. So we lived in Houston for 3 years and then moved back to Phoenix. And then he and 2 other people formed their own little company doing just what Siegel does. but they had to farm out all of their actuarial work and that sort of thing. And so Seago said, why don't we just join each other? Why don't you join us? So that's.
Okay, I didn't know this part of the story, so I don't remember this in the interview. So he had started his own company.
Well, with two other people.
Okay.
Yeah, Phil Hack and Sam Jennings.
And it essentially
Okay.
got bought out by Martin Siegel.
Right.
Awesome.
But they actually were working together all the time, because they used their people in New York to figure out how long you're gonna live. But you're a doctor, so you know how long you're gonna live.
Well, for the purposes of benefit, I mean, what's so wonderful is that people are living so much longer, and that's probably gonna bankrupt Social Security and a number of other retirement programs. We're happy that everyone is living longer, but it's really now screwed up the calculations for
Yeah.
some of those insurance companies and benefits organizations.
Yeah, and life isn't like it used to be, where you find 3 generations in one house, and everybody got along fine and use the same recipes and that sort of thing. Whereas now, if you can find people who live in the same house, just 2 people, for a number of years, you think, oh, they've got a solid beginning.
So I have a question. Did you ever go to bed upset with him? Or did you have a rule? Because some couples say, oh, did you ever sleep in a separate bed? Or did you
Well, I remember
always
sleeping
forgive each other and make up? Or did you never get in a fight? Or an argument?
Of course. But I remember one night the phone rang about, I don't know, 1 or 2 in the morning. And so I don't think we even had a phone in the bedroom at that time. I jump up and think, oh, what's happened? And it was an old girlfriend calling him. I think she was at a party and just started thinking about, so she called him.
So wait, when you were newlyweds or when you were dating?
Oh, no, we had children then.
Oh,
And
okay.
so, well, I said, who is that? He said, well, you remember I talked about this gal Wendy. I said, yeah, what about it? He said, she was on the phone. I said, really? You know? So I think maybe I said, I think I'll take a vacation and go out and sleep on the couch.
So she just randomly called him?
Yeah, but I think she was at a party.
Okay.
But, I mean, I guess he wasn't guilty to begin with. He didn't place the call, so anyway, that didn't last.
So you kissed and made up in a couple days?
Oh, I don't think we took that long.
So that was one time you remember. So mostly you
Got a
would,
lot of fun.
would be in the same bed and not be in an argument. But if you did,
Yeah.
who was the first one to say sorry?
Oh, I imagine I would be, because we didn't talk that much. And he would say, well, I wasn't really mad anyway.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So you were the one that had to say you're sorry, because otherwise he'd just be quiet.
Yeah.
Okay, would you hold hands everywhere you go?
I'm sure we will. And we did travel a lot after her retired. He retired in the year 2000. And so we were with a group called Overseas Adventure Travel.
Oh, okay.
And they only take 15 people on a trip. And we went on 25 trips in 13 years.
Wow.
And so, which was great, we just get home from a trip and start playing another. We were on so many trips with them that we went on the same trip twice.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
How long did the trips last, and where are some of these places you went?
Well, usually a trip would be not quite 3 weeks long, maybe 18, 19 days. And because there were only 12 people, that's usually 2 people would drop out before you got on the trip. So it was easy to get around, and they had great trips like Morocco, Thailand, and of course all the regular trips, Danube and Russia. And
What are your top 3 favorites?
actually, we went on a safari to Kenya, and that was the best trip. We were with a group that liked to take it easy and not rough it too much. And so we actually stayed in tents that had artificial grass as a carpet, and they had a bathroom. And it was fun because in Kenya they have so many animals. So at night there was a lion that was right outside our tent, and each couple had their own tent. We had a dining room that was a great big tent. And I think these lions were fairly tame because they would sit right outside of our tent at night and howl or fight. And I think,
I didn't
you
know
scared?
lions howl like that.
well, they
Growl.
they would kind of fight with
Growl?
each other.
Oh, I thought she said howl,
She
like
did.
a wolf.
Yeah,
Oh.
Growl.
Oh.
But it seems that the males in the group like to fight with the father, I think is what happens. And so we'd be sitting there in this tent eating dinner, and the lions would be pretty far away, and then they'd keep coming closer. I don't think they fed them anything, but anyway,
It's probably how they got them to come so close. Maybe. Conspiracy theory. But
but we were just, in this tent, and about a part of it was open, and all of a sudden we'd see a lion walking right across, and then another lion following, and we'd just sit there frozen, thinking all they have to do is just pounce on you and you're gone.
So it was where it could like just grab you and eat you up?
No, I don't think that.
Well, what kind of a tent was it?
Well, it was, canvas type tent, but it was substantial. I mean, it all zipped every place, so, we weren't afraid that we were gonna get in.
It seems a little dangerous.
But traveling in those decades was completely different, right? Wasn't it different? I mean, you really went to foreign places and,
Oh, absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
we were just not nearly as connected. So when you went somewhere, it was truly different.
Well, like Laos, Cambodia.
Right.
And, St. Petersburg is pretty different than Russia, too.
How was that trip?
well, and you had to back then. You had to talk to people to find out where the good restaurants and stuff were. Now you just go on to Yelp or something and find where the good reviews are. So
Yeah.
back
that's
then
right.
you would have to talk to people and make some friends to find out the good spots.
That's
So,
right.
Yeah. Now everything's
Yeah.
digital. So.
And we were talking about Israel the other night.
How was that trip?
I loved it. I learned so much, and it's really a country that, they have their problems certainly, but it seems like they're so popular because everybody wants to go there and see where Christ walked.
What year were you there?
Probably 2009, around that time.
Very good.
But it's a very popular place. And the food was good, I remember that.
And then Herb's seniority with the Martin Siegel Company brought him into a different role, which gave you another truly unique life experience that I think most of us.
That's true, we spent so much time in Burbank, having to do with the Screen Actors Guild.
Right, so
And
it
the
brought him
wife.
into that role where he was involved with the Screen Actors Guild.
Yes, he is actually thinking that maybe he'd retire, because they have a great pension plan. And they said, oh, don't retire. And really, he was too young to retire, and he didn't even play golf. So, they said, we want you to go over to California and take care of this big job. I mean, the person before him, that's all they did. All he did was take care of the Screen Actors.
So what is the definition really of the Screen Actors Guild? Like, what is the purpose of the Screen Actors Guild?
Oh, it's to take care of all of their employee benefits.
For the movies? for the actors and?
Well, there's a lot of others connected
Mhm.
to, like, I don't know for sure if even, maybe referees are even connected.
It's like 250,000 people in the guild.
Right.
So
Hold on,
we're
before we
managing.
move on past the traveling, I want to get the other two favorite locations. Because
I
you
do
said
too.
Kenya, and it's a fun topic. So I wanted to get the other two favorite destinations
I
to
agree.
travel to.
Well, certainly Vietnam was one.
Really?
Okay, so
We went-
Kenya, Vietnam.
But tell us a little bit about that trip. Why was it one of
Yeah,
your favorites?
tell us why it really stood out to you.
Yes.
Well, we, actually, it was just kind of an add-on. We went to, Hanoi, and also saw McCain's torture chamber, right? Which is close to downtown in Hanoi. So, and anyway, we said, and we were there maybe a week and saw quite a bit of the city and did things there. But we said, we're gonna come back to Vietnam, we liked it so much. And so by the time we got home, the company had put on a whole trip, 3 weeks.
That's awesome.
And they went the whole length of the country.
That's amazing.
How was the food there?
Very good.
Okay.
Yeah,
These are really outside the box answers, I feel like. So I want to hear the third destination, your third favorite.
What do you think? Oh, I think Morocco.
Morocco. Okay,
Uh-huh.
cool.
Now that's a country that has wonderful food. And of course,
Ooh, okay.
And
Moroccan
it's a
food.
real cultural hotspot too. It has so many different cultures that meet there.
how true.
Sub-Saharan cultures and European culture meeting.
And there's so many things that happen there, and so many people that visit Morocco because of where it is. And so we just really enjoyed that. And of course, let's see.
What about Italy? Have you ever been to Italy?
We have, but actually we didn't. What we used to do is go to Europe and buy a Mercedes at the plant.
Oh,
And they would also,
so you go to Germany. Okay.
Stuttgart, not Stuttgart, Sindelfingen is the name of the city where Mercedes is made.
Okay.
Oh, you want to get up on the mic? So that way
Oh,
we're getting
okay.
your audio, yeah.
At any rate, I think all told we have 10 different cars. And they come in a bit of a bargain. Plus they give you insurance for a month. And so you can drive around and
Wow.
enjoy.
Did you take any of them on the Autobahn?
Oh, yeah, all the time.
Oh, sweet.
But the one place we hadn't gone when we almost stopped traveling was Italy. And the reason we didn't go there is because Mercedes, the insurance was not good in Italy. They steal
Interesting.
They steal too many cars there.
Really?
Yeah,
Are you serious?
I'm serious.
So Betty, you're very old and you're very wise and you've been on this earth a long time. You've seen a lot. Tell us about your comments on feminism were interesting. How have women's rights and women's roles and
Oh.
abilities
Well,
during the feminist movement
I actually used to see the wife get exactly what she wanted by just being a good wife. And when they decided that women should work and get in business and be equal to men, it was a big struggle. And not only that, but it didn't do much for the feminine reputation to be, fighting so hard for what we really should have been ours all along.
So do you
But-
think men and women should be equal?
Of course. But I think that there was probably as much equality without anybody talking about it when women just did what they were supposed to do and didn't make such a fuss about it.
Well, I think you were really blessed because your husband gave you a lot of power.
Well, I think that's true.
You're very blessed to
Yeah.
be able to make all those decisions and investments,
Right.
and I'm sure your kids are really proud of you. You have 4 kids.
Uh-huh.
Did they ever go
Right.
on these trips with you?
No, actually, the group is part of a bigger group that belongs to ARP. And this is the small group, so you can go in a small bus and that's it.
It's exclusive
Yeah,
and no kids.
well, if there were children at all, they would be grown children. I mean, some people would take their kids with them, but they'd be, in college or.
So this was your alone time every year. You went 25 times in 13 years, and that's very romantic that he would take you on these trips. You've been all over the world.
Right.
Where are 3 places that you'd want to go back and visit?
Well, a really nice country is Chile.
Ooh,
It's
Chile.
South America.
What's that like?
It's like we took Arizona's coffee and ran with it. And they have.
And there's probably no Chili's there at the restaurant.
No.
Low quality restaurant, yeah.
No. But it's a very progressive country, and I think that they're more settled down than any of the other South American countries.
Tips for health and longevity. You're doing so well. You're so impressive at your age and so healthy and fit
Thank you
and
very
sharp.
much.
Yeah, how do you stay active? Do you walk every day? Do you run? What do you do?
Well, we live on the street where.
So she lives on a
On 36th Street.
where I've hiked.
Oh, okay.
I showed you. You know where that really steep street is? She lives right there on that hill.
Yeah, right by the mountain.
Mm-hmm.
We're the last house before the mountain begins.
Oh,
Or before the park begins, I should say.
So maybe we don't want to say that on the air where exactly you live.
They don't know. They
Yeah.
can't tell where
Yeah,
that
we probably don't wanna
is.
say
There's
exactly.
100 mountains.
Yeah, that's right,
Yeah,
that's right.
funny.
So she walks almost every day.
And then my next door neighbor taught a fitness class, and she didn't want to have a business any longer, so now she does it in her garage, and she lives next door to me.
So you attend her classes
Uh-huh.
in the garage?
Uh-huh.
Awesome.
Monday and Wednesday, and I mean, she knows what she's doing. She said that this lady wrote a book about it, and that she has the ability to make us use every muscle in our body in 1 hour. So
Using weights at all? Do you use weights like dumbbells?
she does sometimes. She's, just pound weights.
And so what about, what do you like to eat? Because you're 91, you're fit as a
Oh.
fiddle, you're nice and slender.
Well, it's because I don't eat very much.
I've seen that when you and I split the salmon and the salad, and you barely ate any of it. And you
Yeah.
took some home, and I ate everything.
But you certainly can get enough to eat without eating a lot of calories if you just don't eat.
So you don't eat
things
too
that-
much, but would you say you mostly eat fish, chicken, salads?
Well, I never eat desserts.
Okay, so no sugar.
And for such a long time that it doesn't bother me any longer. It's like an alcoholic, you get used to it, not eating, or not eating the sugar.
No sugar. Okay, so
Yeah.
no sugar. And so what do you eat in the morning? What's your breakfast?
Cereal, banana, and I have found that half and half fat-free is nothing. I mean, there's only about 20 calories, and it's a lot tastier than the fat-free milk. I mean, that's kind of watery to me.
Back when you had your kids and you were cooking, was it mostly,
Oh,
what would you cook?
I'd make things like meatloaf, stew, and baked chicken. In fact, after the kids left home, I can't remember which person, but they said, "Mother, why don't you put together a list of all the recipes that we like it used to make. So I said, oh, okay, and so it's probably at least 10 pages. And our son,
10 pages. I want some recipes too.
yeah, well, our son taught at San Francisco Day School for 20 years, and that's a school that was put together by the Gap people. Their name is Fisher. And so all of their kids went there, and one of the Fisher gals did a cookbook. So my son said, Mom, send me a copy of your favorite recipes. And so I did. And usually when people put together a cookbook, they try all the recipes. But they just put mine in there. Yeah, I thought, my goodness, here's 10 pages of Betty Bool's recipes. So, anyway.
That sounds like it could be a cookbook, Betty Bool's recipe.
Yeah,
It does.
Has a ring to it.
Just like Betty Bool.
So Betty Bool, what would you say are your top secrets of living this happy life with this beautiful lifestyle you've had? So, top
Well,
secrets.
I guess it's because we're rather conservative, you know. I think people that, you know, what should I say?
You think the secret to happiness is being conservative?
Because I think,
do. I
can,
mean, I
can I say
Right.
something that I see in you? You and I laugh a lot, and I think
Oh.
you laugh about everything, and I see that you have a great sense of humor, and you like to just be. You're really fun.
Yeah, I've heard that, and I mean, not necessarily about me, but they say that laughing is really great medicine. And the deal is, you can't laugh and not think you're not enjoying it.
And
'Cause you
conservative.
do.
What's your comment on conservative?
I know I don't really understand the conservative.
Oh,
But yeah, because I think there's people that are happy at every viewpoint. You know, I don't think that that's a one size fits all type of thing. But
Well, I don't understand what you mean by conservative.
well, for instance, we don't belong to a country club. And, well, we used to when the kids were little, because we didn't want a swimming pool. So, and we lived near one. So.
Betty Bool didn't want a swimming pool.
No. At any rate, it was, you know, something easy to do when they were little. And then we,
we've only got about a minute left. I just
Oh.
saw. Wow, the hour flew by.
I have been talking too much. Well, it's fun to be here, gosh.
Thank you so much for being here tonight. We are just so blessed to have you. Every time I see you, you make me smile, you make me laugh. I really enjoy having you here.
Not only that, but
We try to make every day epic.
I'll be 92 my next birthday, and I think so many people I know aren't enjoying life anymore. They're just worried about everything. And you shouldn't do that.
You're not a worrywart.
Well, I probably am more than I think.
Because during the time of COVID, you and I met at a restaurant. Remember?
Right.
And you're like, I'm
We're
not sitting
still
at
in
home.
the time of COVID.
Right.
Well,
In the time of COVID.
Well, it was cute. She says to me, all my kids and the grandkids say I can't go out, but I'm going out and I'm meeting you.
Yeah, you got it.
And she
Enjoy
did
your
that.
time while you get it.
Well, this has really been a pleasure.
I like it.
Well, we love you, Betty Bool. Thank you so much for being here.
Awesome.
Saving the planet,
Thanks.
one show at a time. Make every day epic.
Great show.
Really.
So that was on live.
That was on live Facebook.
You'll be on live and you'll be
posted
forever.
on- Yes.
In perpetuity, as they say, you'll be there
Yes.
forever.
So it's going to be on the Starwood Network.
When you're long gone, people will still listen to it and go back and go, wow, what a cool lady.
So there's many ways here. It's also on it's also on the Apple Podcast channel. So do you know what podcasts are? You know
Yeah,
podcasts,
sure.
yeah. It's also